Book summary. Blossoms of Savannah. Blossoms of the Savannah is a powerful representation of the Maasai community and the challenges they face in a rapidly changing world. In this novel, we see how traditional values and practices clash with modernity, leading to conflict, betrayal, and even violence. One of the central themes of the novel is the idea that our greatest enemies are often those closest to us. In this essay, I will argue that this assertion is both true and false, depending on the context and the characters involved. On the one hand, the novel presents several examples of how close relationships can turn sour and lead to enmity. For instance, we see how Senchu's friendship with Kalo is tested when Senteu becomes jealous of Kalo's academic success and his growing closeness to Olorinkoi. This jealousy eventually leads to Senchu's betrayal of Kalo, resulting in his expulsion from school and his family's loss of the grazing land. Similarly, we see how Kalo's father, Eloisudori, betrays his own community by colluding with the corrupt government officials to sell off their ancestral land. In both cases, the characters' closest allies turned out to be the greatest enemies. On the other hand, the novel also presents examples of how close relationships can be a source of strength and support. For instance, we see how Kalo's mother, Pasaime, stands by him and supports him throughout his ordeal, even when his father disowns him. We also see how Olorinkoi's love for Regine gives her the courage to resist the harmful traditional practices and fight for her rights. These examples show that close relationships can be a source of resilience and resistance against oppression and injustice. Furthermore, the novel suggests that the root cause of enmity is not the proximity of the enemy but rather the values and beliefs that drive their actions. For instance, Senchu's betrayal of Kalo was not caused by their closeness but rather by his own insecurity and jealousy. Similarly, Eloisudori's betrayal of his community was not caused by his proximity to the corrupt officials but rather by his greed and desire for personal gain. In this sense, the novel suggests that our greatest enemies are not necessarily those close to us but rather those who hold values and beliefs that are fundamentally at odds with our own. In conclusion, while H.E. Olcoulit's Blossoms of the Savannah presents several examples of how close relationships can turn sour and lead to enmity, it also shows how close relationships can be a source of strength and support. Ultimately, the novel suggests that our greatest enemies are not necessarily those close to us but rather those who hold values and beliefs that are fundamentally at odds with our own. Therefore, the assertion that our greatest enemies are those close to us should be qualified by considering the context and the characters involved.